Hey, Rebel Athletic Fund members. My name is Michael Byler. I'm the Director of Annual Giving with the Rebel Athletic Fund. Just wanted to welcome you all to Anatomy of the Swing in our golf simulator here in the Harris Hospitality College, part of the PGA management program here in the college. So I'm joined here today by Coach AJ and Coach Amy. They're going to walk us through the anatomy of a swing and some kind of basic golf tips for you all that are tuning in today. I'm going to hand it over to them. Our raft participant was supposed to come, could not make it, so you're stuck with me and my swing today. So get excited for that. But Amy and AJ, I'll let you all take it away and give us kind of some intro on golf and some things that you all kind of look at, someone from beginner to expert, and then grab me when we're ready to do a little lesson, and we'll take it from there. So Amy and AJ, I'll leave it to you.
Yeah, thank you. Great. Well, like Michael said, my name's AJ McInerney, assistant golf coach here at UNLV. This is my first year coaching, so I just concluded my first year as a coach. I spent 2 years playing on the Korn Ferry Tour. I played in a handful of PGA Tour events. My whole career was highlighted by one top 10 on tour. So this will be fun today. You know, I told Michael, I said, I typically like to work with players who make me look good, but we're going to give it our best shot today with Michael. So we're looking forward to this, and thank you all for being here.
My name is Amy Bush-Herzer. I just completed my 10th year as the head women's golf coach here. Really honored to be here, honored to be in the same session with you. We're really fortunate here. What you can kind of see behind us and see throughout this shoot today is that we're in this beautiful hospitality hall. This is an incredible golf facility. They have 2 golf simulators in here. And what you can see throughout this room here, there's a bunch of cameras throughout this whole room. And we have the opportunity to utilize this with our student athletes. And what they'll do, and we don't get to show you this today, but they'll actually come in here and put sensors head to toe so we can get a whole 3D look at the golf swing. And so we're really fortunate to have this here on our campus and to be able to kind of introduce it a little bit today. With Michael, you're doing great. You'll be great here. We want to go over a couple things before we ask Michael to come in here. And I think one of the biggest things that we hear from beginner golfers to even expert golfers is how do we do this, right? Like how do we go about, how do I even start? And so I think one of the things that's really important with this is making sure that when you decide to start golf, because it's really popular right now, make sure that you get a decent set of clubs that fit you. I think one of the things that we see, and I see as a female coach, is that it's really easy for a female to walk in and just buy a club that says, these are ladies. You might not need those, and then you're not going to be met with success. And so you come out to the golf course and you look at this and you go, well, that was terrible. Mm-hmm. Well, it's because your clubs were too short, or you might be too strong to hit those. And I think that that's one of the things that just throughout, it's really easy to go in and just say, I'm going to buy a club that says ladies and buy the box. And I think also we'll talk a little bit about AJ's fit here in a second, but I think one of the other important things is you don't have to have a full set of 14 clubs. That's what they say in the USGA. Now, AJ and I have, actually, if you look at my bag right now, I have 15. But 14 is the limit when you play in a tournament. And him and I will use the 14, and our athletes will utilize the 14. But as a beginner golfer, couple irons, couple fairway woods, a driver, you do not need the complete set in order to find success in this. So just a little tips to start, and we'll be throwing those out throughout the day. But, AJ, tell us a little bit about your fit, because being on tour, you get to go to these big, beautiful tour vans where you can have everything you want.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, no, that's a very good point. I think especially for a beginning golfer, if you have a set of clubs that fit you, you could probably shave 10 shots off your score. And that's not an exaggeration. I see too many guys go out there and play, and they're just using equipment that isn't fit for them. And if they just had a driver, they just had a sand wedge that, they spent a little bit of time and maybe a little bit of money on, it would actually save quite a few shots off your score. So for example, like Amy said, you only get to play with 14 clubs. So that's the rule, right? But on top of that, you might have a golf course where you need an extra wedge, right? You might have a golf course where you want to put a 2-iron in the bag instead of a hybrid, things like that. So those are things kind of to keep in mind as you start to progress in the game. For me, for example, my whole iron set, I'm a ½ inch over. So my irons are a ½ inch over standard. And then my irons are also 2 degrees upright, meaning that when they sit flat on the ground, mine would be 2 degrees more upright than what standard would be. And there's no right. Everybody's different. You know, I have players on my team, and I'm sure Amy's the same way, where they range from anywhere from 4 degrees flat to potentially 4 degrees upright. And that depends on your swing speed, your attack angle, how tall you are, the way you grip the club, things like that, that really make an impact. So go, you know, reach out to us maybe, you know, go see your local PGA professional, and they can help you at least get in the right set of clubs.
Yeah. And that's really important, because if you looked at our clubs, they're going to be totally different weighting, shaft length, the whole thing, and even grip. Even, you know, I bet the wraps of tape you have underneath your grip are totally different, and that's really important for our success in our games. Now, also, I would say as you go through this, the fit can change. And so, you know, don't be afraid to continue maybe a couple years if you are enjoying it and you're finding that you're getting better and better. Go get another fit, because that will change throughout your career. Right. So a couple more points, and then we'll get Michael in here. But I'd say, too, the other importance of finding a way to get a lesson is really important, because you're going to go out and you might go out with your friends and you really are going to enjoy it. And that's fantastic. And we hope that you do. Please keep growing the game. But find a place, go to your local parks and rec, go to your local course. There's people that will teach you this game. You know, find a friend, you know, even if you find a friend, have somebody take a look at it, because that will also help lend success. I know you and I have had multiple instructors throughout our lives, and I'm always learning something every time I get to watch a lesson. And so it is a good opportunity to do that. And it will only help you want to go back and keep going back.
Especially as a beginner. It's so important to go get the right instruction. Amy and I are going to get into a couple of kind of quick tip things that'll get you going, and we'll bring Michael in for that. So this will be fun. Again, thanks everyone for joining us. Yeah. This game is meant to be fun, right? So we're going to kind of introduce the game to you at a very basic level. But in order to have fun, you want to play good, and you want to continue to get better. So please reach out to us, you know, take what we're going to say here and take it to the golf course yourself and play around with it. You know, there's no one way to play golf. Yeah. You can look at our teams, you can watch the PGA Tour, and there are 100 different golf swings out there, thousands of different golf swings out there. So there's no one cookie cutter way to do this. Enjoy it, make it your own, and let's see if we can't get a little bit better in, you know, this summer and moving into the fall.
Yeah, that's great. So, and we'll bring Michael into the frame now, but what we were talking to him before off camera is we were asking him if he had any shoulder issue, elbow, hip, because I think that's the most important thing to make sure that you identify in your golf lessons, okay? Because we don't want to make you, you know, go into a movement that you're like, wow, that was terrible. So make sure that if you are getting a lesson from somebody that you identify that stuff, because AJ and I can also say, you know, we can adapt the swing when you have 1,000 different swings. You can adapt the swing to what we need it to be. So make sure you identify those. But we asked that, we know there's none, so he's just gonna be able to hit away for us here.
Yep, good to go. Nothing,
so what we're gonna do is we're gonna have Michael hit maybe about 5 to 10 shots, and we'll take a look at his swing and kind of give him some pointers from there.
Not too bad, right? First one?
That was pretty good there, Michael.
Up here. Are there any tips you all have for kind of warming up, taking initial shots that, you know, so you don't hurt yourself, that kind of thing?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and that's why Amy had asked about your hips and your back and your shoulders. So if you do have pre-existing injuries, those are things to keep in mind. And you're certainly, before you even start hitting golf shots, you're going to want to get your body loose. Yeah. You know, you don't want to, I hear too many guys that get to the 4th or 5th hole and they're like, oh, I'm finally loose. It's like, well, you've already wasted 4 or 5 holes this morning, and, you know, where you could have spent maybe 30 minutes before the round kind of stretching out. So when you're hitting balls initially to start, right, I don't want them to go as far as you can hit it, right? I just want you to have good contact. I want you to kind of feel the grip pressure, make sure your grip pressure is real loose, the tension in your arms are really loose, and just make some easy, maybe 75% swings. And then we'll kind of build it up from there.
Cool.
There you go.
Thank you. All right, what do you guys think so far?
I'm going to take a look at your grip.
All right.
All right.
Cool.
So go ahead and set up to it. Okay, you may want to get right in here. I'm going to kind of show them. So grip it with both hands. Okay, so if you were to look down, how many knuckles are showing there? If you just look straight down at your grip, how many knuckles do you see?
2,
I'd like to see 3.
3.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I want you to regrip it. There you go. Regrip it with your left hand so that you can see 3 knuckles. So you got 1, 2, 3. I want that one hidden. Does that feel about 3?
Yeah, I think right
Good.
there.
Good. So what does that feel like? Talk to us about what that feels like.
Feels more closed.
More
for sure.
closed. Okay.
I think not being the golf coach, I think my tendency is to open up a lot on my swing because I was a former tennis player and have some bad habits that die hard. But yeah, it feels more closed. Should it feel that way?
It should.
Okay.
And is it a little bit?
It feels a little
uncomfortable?
weird, yeah.
If it feels weird, you know
sure.
you're doing it right.
Okay.
Because when you ever make a grip change, the best if it's feeling weird, you know you're probably getting on it. You're
Okay.
getting it right. Okay. So let's put the right hand on there, and I'm kind of seeing something here. Okay. So I'd say too, how tight are you gripping that?
Yeah.
The left one tighter than the right.
Yeah. So as AJ was saying too, the tension side of things. So you call it balance, tension, tempo. Okay, those are the 3 things that we kind of look at first and foremost. And so the tension, if we start with tension in our hands, what does that do for the rest of our bodies?
You're also tense.
Everything's tense, right? And so then when you're tense, we have a tendency to try and steer everything, right? And try and manipulate. So that's why we don't want it to be where, I know it sounds strange, but you almost just want it to be kind of in your hands and riding along, okay? Because when you do that, you're creating less tension here and here, and then we can get a better shot through, back and through.
Okay.
So on a scale of 1 to 10 grip pressure, I would say 5 is as far as you want to take it.
Okay.
Right? So you should feel like you have a little bit of, you got some touch and some feel in your hands. And because this club has a lot of rotation, when you're making the swing at 110 miles an hour, right? That club's moving a lot, but you want to allow it to move.
Right.
And if you grip it too tight, the club face is never actually going to rotate, and you're going to see those shots kind of go off to the right because you're not allowing your grip pressure to be loose enough to then release the club.
Cool. I'm used to seeing that, so
Well,
let's see if we can change it.
just for the viewers at home too, when somebody suggests grip change and you're trying to learn it, one of the best things to do is to grab your golf club, and you might be watching a show on Netflix, or you might be watching, we got the PGA Championship on in here. So it's a muscle memory. And so the best thing to do is just start practicing your grip. Practice your grip, put it back down. Grab it again, practice your grip. And so that way you don't even have to be at a golf course to know the next time you go out, you don't have to be on the range going, is this correct? Is this correct? You're just going right in, and you have your grip where you know it is, where you know it's correct, and it feels a little bit better. Okay, so that's something that you can do at home.
Perfect. Sure, viewers watching will take that to heart. I'm gonna try 1 or 2 more here.
Make sure I can see those 3 knuckles. There you go. 5 scales 5 out of 10 on the grip pressure.
I didn't hit that one super well.
No, you didn't.
It's a little nerve-wracking doing this on camera.
Yeah, and then hitting
PGA
it,
professionals here,
hitting into
so.
our screen too. It's a little strange. So now I'll also say to the viewers, you know, we can take a look at all these numbers along the bottom here. And those are some of the numbers that we can use for our players too, to be able to explain, you know, if their club path is on or if what their face angle might be. And so some of these numbers might just look like they're, you know, we can't see very much from them, but AJ and I are looking, going, we can see what's going on. So
Actually, if you have those alignment sticks, I can
Yeah,
explain it
sure.
just real quick. So move that ball, Ricky, why don't you come in here real quick, right at the front. So if I drew a line right there, that ball position's forward to center. You see that? So I'd really like to get it about there, which is more in the middle of your stance. Okay, so this is a good one to explain here. If I show, I'll trade you actually. So if you see right on the bottom of that screen, it says club path is -6 degrees. So what that means is that, go ahead and set up to one here, Michael. So if this is 0, right? If dead straight is 0, -6 would be somewhere in this ballpark.
Okay.
Okay, so that's where your club path is going. So I would really like to see it get closer to 0.
Okay.
Right,
So you're
6 is a
coming in
little
kind
bit
of
too much.
Right on
So
top of
you're
it.
coming in and you're getting steep on it, right?
Mhm.
You're coming on top of it.
Yeah.
Okay. So what I want you to think about is I'm going to put this stick down here. You're not going to hit that stick, so don't worry about it. But almost feel like your club path goes along that stick coming through.
Okay. Oh, not quite.
Well, we'll see what the club path goes to.
yeah. Look at that.
Same thing.
So it went, well, it's -0.6. So
Oh,
that's just about
okay.
0.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
So that was better.
Yeah,
a
a lot
sliver
better.
I
off
felt
of
like I was
0.
gonna hit it that way though.
You
I think
did,
that's the
but you
initial-
didn't,
yeah.
right? So then, anyways, keep doing that a few
Cool.
more times.
We'll do.
And one thing that's very important in golf is that your feel and your reel are two totally different things. So when you're practicing, really exaggerate that club path.
That one felt way better. I think.
Yeah, look at that.
And you hit a nice high draw and your club path was at 0. So if you look at that bottom kind of seconds from the right box, that's going to help you promote more of a high draw instead of that low fade that you're accustomed to hitting.
Awesome.
Yeah, and for folks at home too, these alignment sticks, you can buy the construction style sticks like this at Home Depot for about $2 a piece. We have all of our student athletes use stuff like this because it's a great inexpensive training aid that you can keep in your bag, and there's multiple things that we can do with these alignment sticks. So go grab a couple of them.
Didn't get under that one enough.
How'd that feel?
That one felt awesome.
Felt good. And you can see
That was the best
the
one
flight is a
today.
nice high draw, right? Which is kind of what everyone's striving for.
That club path was a little off. But,
Well, but it's not -6, right? You're never really going to get it exactly where you want it. As long as it's in the ballpark, you're going to start to see the shots you want to see, right? The worst thing that we can have is a double cross.
Sure.
In golf, we call it double cross is when if you're trying to hit a fade and you actually hit a hook,
Okay.
right? That's what you don't want to have happen. So as long as you're in the ballpark, you're never going to double cross it, and then you're always going to have a one-way miss. So we'll kind of get to some course management strategies here in a minute. I got one more thing I want to show you in your swing.
Perfect.
So you've got the feel of the club path down. Oh, we lost our screen there. There it
There
is.
we go.
So remember to get that ball position just back a little bit. Okay, now take it to the top and pause.
With my swing?
Yep, so take it all the way to the top and just hold it there. Okay, so when you come down, I want you to feel like this starts first. Before this starts to go, I want you to feel that start first. Okay. And the reason being is that you're getting it up here and you're falling back. So your hips are going forward. You're basically, we call it sliding. Your hips are sliding.
That's his tennis.
And that's your tennis.
I think that's my,
exactly.
my old muscle memory.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're taking it to the top, you're coming here and you're sliding into it, which is making your upper body fall backwards. Okay. So if you get it up here and you just think about starting this down first, then it's going to allow you to rotate rather than slide.
Okay. Let's see how this goes.
You got it.
The contact was great.
Yeah, it felt good when I did it.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm going to have you do another one, and we're going to do a drill.
Yeah, I would.
To where, so go ahead and take your setup again, Michael. And then I want you to take it to the top and pause for me again. Okay, now I'm just going to be here to have weight. So I want you to push against my hand. Now do it again. Go back up to the top. Now push against my hand. Okay, you feel that tension? That's what it should feel like. That tempo got better like that.
Totally. And look at the club path too.
Yep. And your club path is now consistently right around 0. Which you can play some golf from there.
Yeah.
You can play some golf from there.
That's usually my thing. I don't play enough. So if I get a couple little, kind of tips to clean me up a little bit, it works. Or you guys are some amazing coaches, one or the other. But are there any more tips you all have for, golfers that play consistently, but little tips that can kind of help with their stroke average that
absolutely I can
that any golfer can use? I know we're kind of focusing on my swing specifically, but
so if we're talking, you would be in the 10 to 20 handicap range, right? Which is pretty, normal, right? You're going to see a lot of guys at the golf course in that range. Once you start getting under a 5 handicap, like 0 to 5, you're not going to save as many shots actually working on your golf swing, right? Sitting in here and hitting balls. How you're going to save your shots is on the golf course. So the decision making, right? We're hitting, say you're hitting 72 shots, right? Those 72 shots, if you can make a better decision on 10 of them, then you might save yourself a few shots out there. And what I mean by making the right decision is that, how far does your 9-iron go?
Oh man, that's a
if you had
hard
on
question.
average 150, 155.
Sure, something like that.
So we'll call it
probably,
150, right? So what I tend to see with a lot of 10 to 20 handicappers is that they're going to grab the lowest club that they can hit and they're going to swing as hard as they can because they want to tell their buddies, I just hit pitching wedge there. What'd you have to hit, right? Yeah. But the worst thing in this game is an ego. The worst thing in this game is an ego. So if you need a hit, maybe there's a little bit of wind in, maybe you're getting tired. It's closer to the end of your round. Grab an 8-iron, right? And swing smooth. Let's get back to that grip pressure being real light. Let's kind of get back to our tempo, our rhythm, and hit an 8-iron. I see way too many players that try to hit less club than they really need to hit. And I think that's the biggest thing from my end.
Yeah, and I'd say also just any game improvement stuff that you can do is that if you can find time, I know that we're all busy, and when we get to go out and do this at recreation, it's a time to be with friends, have music on, and have a great time. But I would say that if you really want to see some game improvement, take a couple extra minutes. And the fastest game improvement also for the 10 to 20 handicap, or even the 20 to 30, is to find the time to get on a putting green and teach yourself about speed.
okay, and what it means to have that with your putting stroke. And if we get time here, we can talk a little bit about that. But I think one of the fastest areas that you can see that is if you know the difference between when you should chip and when you should pitch, and when if you have control of your putter, that's a great area from across the board, and it's easy to do, and you don't necessarily need lessons. You can find a bunch of different great drills that are on. If you just go to Google, easy putting drills, easy to set up putting drills, and that will help you really find a way to reduce your shots as fast as possible if you only have a little bit of time. Okay, so if you don't have time to go out and actually practice. And I'd say too, from one of the range time things is if you have time to do something on the range, challenge yourself and make sure that you hit a target. So like, for instance, one of the things that we do a lot with our student athletes is on the range, we'll create a fairway. And we'll say from this blue flag to this red flag, that's our fairway. And before I can leave here, I need to hit 10 of these, okay? And it creates a little bit of a challenge because the brain and the muscles in your body, they know how to do that, and they'll help you get the club. I mean, you needed just a little bit of an example there with a alignment stick to make sure to how to show you get it back on path. Well, your brain, you'll figure that out. And I think that's some of the things that we just forget is that we go there and sure, we want to have a good time, but the greatness will come, you'll get a little bit better if you can do just little things and take that little bit of time.
Awesome. I still think it's the amazing coaching that I'm receiving
Fair
here
enough.
today, but I won't take credit for any of that.
Hey,
but
we'll take it. The other thing too is that there's a lot of times you're going to see in a round of golf where you're just off the green, right? Maybe you're 3 feet off the green, maybe you're 9 feet off the green, a couple yards here and there. And this is going to be important for everyone listening and to keep in mind is that a bad putt is always better than a bad chip. So if you're in between putting it or chipping it, you're sitting there and you're reading it and you see where the putt is and you see where the lie is. If you're at all between, do I putt this or do I chip this? Putt it. Always putt it, right? A bad putt is always better than a bad chip. Mm-hmm. And that could potentially save you, right? If you're going to miss 10 greens in a round, that might save you 10 shots, mm-hmm. which is a lot.
Yeah,
right.
That is a lot of shots. Let's get into some putting stuff here while we have some time.
I'll see if I can get this changed. If not, we can just because they have a really cool putting system on this too.
Yeah, we'll just use this hole.
You want to use that? Do we need one of mine?
Here, I have a putter that he might actually really like. It's going to be long enough for him.
I would just say I would hope so.
So that's my my gamer.
Yeah, is this the one that
this is the gamer. So let's
I think we need to have you come from over here though, because we don't want you coming off that mat. So now I think one of the easiest things too from a beginner golfer that's just coming out and putting, it's better to start a little bit closer to the hole, especially if this is where you're trying to even warm up your putter. Start a little bit closer, because if you go out and you miss 10 footers, you're going to be like, wow, I'm the worst. I'm not putting very well today, and then wonder what my day is going to be. So if you start off a little bit closer, it just lends to more success, and your eyes being able to see it go in. One thing that we don't see is, you see on TV, you see all these PGA Tour guys and LPGA athletes that make all these long putts. Well, they're cutting to that on the TV. Okay, I can't remember what the percentage now from 10 feet. I know I read it a couple weeks ago.
It's not very high. It's not as high as you think, right?
It's
Watching
not.
the coverage on TV is a highlight reel.
Right.
These players aren't making every 15 footer that they look at. It's just not happening.
No.
I know they're not three putting them, and that's the biggest
exactly,
key.
And that's where it comes in, and that's where we're trying to tell you to make sure that you can save some strokes by setting yourself up for that success. Right.
So I typically would like for you to take your glove off when you putt, unless you want to putt with your glove on. But I would say no.
No, I will.
Yeah.
Defer
so your putter and your grip with your putter, it's a fine relationship that you have with your putter, and so you want to have that feeling with both hands and kind of make that grip yours.
With putting, you're not. I know some people loop the pinky. You're not supposed to do that with a putter, correct?
Well, there's a lot of different putting grips that you can have. Let me just borrow this actually real quick. And you can see this here, is that in your hand, you have your lifeline in your hand. So the edge of the grip, I would really like to see that edge of the grip. Can you see that on the fit into that lifeline, and vice versa on this hand. So right there, you can feel it, and you want that to fit right in there. And from there, you have all the looseness, and you have the touch. You're an athlete, right? You want to allow your athletic ability to shine, as opposed to being so uptight here that you're no longer an athlete, right? So give that a try.
And you'll see multiple grips too, as AJ was saying. Like there's been a couple years where they had this, you know, you have,
the old claw,
the good old claw grip comes out. You know, you have it where there's hands are inverted as he's teaching now. This is the most traditional.
Correct.
I would say this is the most traditional way. And what AJ's trying to do here is make sure that your hands are on here, because this is a lot about feel. So you don't want to take that out.
Right.
Okay.
Do you want me to?
Yeah, go ahead and try to make it. Okay. Okay, let's do a quick alignment check. Grab another ball there. I'm going to get in right here behind him, Ricky. So if I go, is that where you want to line up at?
Sure.
About? Okay. So I'm going to put this right on line with the line on the putter, okay? And now why don't you step away from it and come back behind me and look at where this is pointed.
Yep, it's to the right.
Yeah,
Makes sense, 'cause
it's
that's where I've been hitting
it's about 6 inches to the right, and that's kind of where you're missing it. So now you know, right? You need to get that line aimed a little bit left.
Oops.
So if I get in here again, that's straight. My stick is straight, so make sure you're lined up there. That looks really good.
Oh,
Man, tough.
just hammered it.
Tough
Too strong.
Tough,
Too strong. So that's the right alignment.
Yep.
Okay, and that's the most important thing. The golf ball starts where the face is pointed 100% of the time.
Make sure you're not gripping that too tight.
Yep.
Just nice and easy.
Oh, I still mess it up. Short game's not my strong suit, so I'm glad
You're not
we're here
alone.
working on it.
And one thing to keep in mind is that if you're going to have 80 shots in a round, right, and 35 of them are putting, well, that's almost 50%, right?
It's not
So
great, I'm sure.
this stroke right here means the same as the 300-yard bomb that you're hitting off the tees, right? They count the same. So if you're going to spend an hour hitting golf balls, well, it's probably smart to spend an hour doing this too, right? And that's just something to keep in mind for the listeners at home.
There you
There
go.
it is.
Good job.
Way to go.
Wow, I love it.
So
there
that's
any, other
drills.
than my swing, I would say, are there any tips for our viewers on just little stuff? I know you're supposed to just tap
Right.
the ball when you're putting, not hit through.
It takes time. It takes time. It takes some practice.
Like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Are there any tips that our viewers might be able to take from this and
Absolutely.
use on the green themselves?
Grip pressure, grip pressure, grip pressure. Tension in your forearms. You don't want to have any tension in your forearms. You want them to be really loose. You know, I like to even close my eyes and just feel my arms being real loose. And then from there, I know that I can make a natural athletic putting stroke. And I think that's a big thing, but lining up straight is huge. You can't stress these things enough.
No.
I mean, it costs $2 at the Home Depot or Lowe's, and this will change your game because it gives you instant feedback.
And I'd also say, feeding off of the tension side of things, you know, one of the things we see a lot in a lot of beginners is when you're coming through, we have a tendency to break our wrist, okay? And I'm making that look a lot more exaggerated than it is. But we're not saying that we want to see you necessarily come in here and just be rigid, okay? This is a fluid swing. but that's where the tension comes in your hands and good tempo. So what I like to always try and teach is if you have, you have a steak knife, you'll hear this a lot on if you watch the Golf Channel or read Golf Digest or anything. If I could put something through here to make sure that when I'm coming through on this, that my hands don't break. And the reason that you don't want to see that is because if you're thinking how a golf ball comes off of this, it's going to create loft. Okay. And so when you create that loft, it's not going to, the golf ball is not going to land correctly. And so that's going to possibly knock it offline as well. And so when we're teaching that, just keep it simple. As AJ was saying, get in here, get athletic, and allow your arms to swing. Okay. Because there's got to be a little bit of motion in your wrist because you, again, would be very rigid and it would be uncomfortable. But make sure to pay attention to that. So if you feel like the putter's coming this way, well, it probably is, or ask a friend and say, hey, can you just watch this and see if I'm breaking my wrist? And so those are easy ways. But if you are breaking them, make sure the first thing you check is what do my hands look like? Are they gripping this really tight? Or are they nice and loose on there,
Right.
creating an athletic ability to be able to swing the putter?
And then our programs, we have our players make 100 3-footers a day. It's like making a free throw, right? It's kind of something that you just do in your sleep. And you do it to get the reps in, and you do it to hear the ball going in the hole, and you put in that time. Mm-hmm. So when I say a 3-footer, this is a 3-footer. So you can make that all day long, right? But you make 100 of them in a row every day, and you start to see that ball go in the hole. And you start to trick your brain into this ball's supposed to go in the hole, mm-hmm. right? So it takes time. It takes some dedication, some work. And once you start playing better, though, there's nothing like it.
Yeah, the truth.
This is one of the best sports and games in the world. And if we can help anyone get a little bit better, it's going to make for a great community of golfers.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Another question I have for you all, as far as reading greens, I know kind of amateur golfers that play, maybe once a month, a couple times a month, have a horrible time reading greens. Are there tips? I know there's no slopes and slants in here. Are there any tips you have as far as being out on an actual course and having long putts, not really sure how to see the green correctly?
I would recommend reading the putt from both sides of the hole. So what I mean by that is if this is my putt and I'm putting from here to there, not everyone reads it from this side, right? They'll get down and they'll kind of see what it's doing. What I mean by both sides is to also come over here and read the putt backwards, right? Because sometimes there's a different feel here. There might be some grain in the greens, and the way that the sun reflects on the grain, you might see it from a better angle coming back. So that's kind of a good tip, is just to read it from both sides. And then I would say, if you hop on this thing right here and just kind of stand here. Why don't you go ahead and stand right there? And now I just want you to close your eyes and tell me what it feels like in your feet. Can you tell that the slope's going to your left?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you feel
right? You can feel that. There, yeah. And now if you turn around and close your eyes again, you can feel that the slope's now going to your right. Right? So that's what a lot of our players do, is if they're confused on a read and how the green's breaking, they'll actually just stand there with their eyes closed and feel it in their feet.
That's awesome.
And that's what helps when you're walking on either side of it too, because now you've just taken from both sides of the hole and you've walked it. So now you can feel on both sides too. Your feet will be able to tell you, oh, well, I feel that motion that I didn't necessarily see. And that's something that's pretty super easy to do and take the time to do that.
And if you get up there and you close your eyes and you're feeling no slope in your feet, you're probably right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's probably a pretty straight putt. Don't overcomplicate it. If it feels straight and it looks straight, well, hit it straight. Let's see what happens.
Right.
Don't overthink it when it comes to reading greens. You see too many people get way too focused on the line that they either convince themselves it's a break that's not there, or they're focused so much on the line that they forget about the speed.
I'd say that's why golf, when you see these slow play penalties that you hear about them, a lot of it's here because people are taking so much time to overthink it, and they're looking at it from 4 different angles, and now they're over their time limit on putts, and so that's where a lot of people see it.
Your first instinct is usually pretty good, so the same kind of rule applies to putting. There's a lot of times where Amy and I will be walking up a fairway to a green, and we can already kind of tell which way the putt's going to break before we get there, because we can feel it in our feet. We can see where the slopes are. And then we kind of confirm the line, by maybe reading it from both sides, but we're already pretty much set on what that putt's going to do.
Yeah.
I'm definitely going to try and take that to the green with me on my next round.
Great.
But
let me know how it goes.
Yeah, I will. It's a little harder when these two aren't right here coaching you up on your swing, but we're kind of wrapping up here in our segment. For our RF members watching, thank you so much for joining us. I hope you take some of the coaching and tips that I got here in our simulator with you to the course. And, it's that time of the year we're getting out there again, hitting balls. As far as those that participated, we do have a winner today. Jim Bianco can win either Oakley Polo or some Titleist golf balls. So, Jim, congratulations on winning that. Thanks for tuning in. Anything y'all want to say in closing?
I mean, are there any other questions that came in before we say? Okay, perfect.
Well, I'd just like to thank everyone watching back home. It means a lot to Amy and I, and everything that you guys do really does make an impact in our student athletes' lives. So thank you so much. And if there's ever anything that we can do, please let us know.
Or if you see us out on the course too,
Make sure
you say hello. Our student athletes are very approachable. They like to say hi. They like to meet people. I've seen my athletes answer questions about 4-footers too. So don't hesitate. We're all in this community together, and we're all happy to help each other out. So, thank you to the PGM program here for letting us use this room today.
Yeah, Kendall Murphy, thank you. It's great. Awesome.
Thanks for our Athletic Fund members. Appreciate you. Thanks for your support. Have a great day.